Asus released a new handheld gaming device that has the potential to be a Nintendo killer. The handheld gaming market has been dominated by Nintendo for years. Since the release of the original Game Boy in 1989, Nintendo has topped all handheld gaming sales with the DS, Switch, and Game Boy. But the actual performance of these handheld gaming devices have been severely lacking compared to other gaming consoles. While PCs and non-portable consoles have been rapidly developing, portable consoles have had slow progression in graphics and performance, leaving people wanting more from their portable gaming devices. Until now.
Choose your fighter!
In this corner, we have the ROG Ally, a portable, high-performing 1080p gaming device that with external attachments can run games in 4K. It comes equipped with a 7-inch, 120Hz monitor that makes your gameplay look extra smooth. At high-performance settings, this device can run high frame rates and depending on the game can surpass 120 frames. It is powered by the AMD Ryzen Z1 Extreme processor and an AMD RDNA 3 GPU. The base model of the Ally has 16 gigs of memory and 512 gigs of storage. This storage space can also be expanded using a micro SD card. And our contender is the OLED Nintendo Switch. It's a handheld gaming console that runs games at 720p. It has a 7-inch OLED screen that makes games look beautiful with its darker blacks and vibrant colors. It's powered by an NVIDIA Tegra X1 GPU and CPU that runs games at max frame rates of 60 frames per second. The OLED Switch has 4 GB of memory and 64 GB of storage that with a micro SD card can be expanded up to 2 TB of storage.
Before I continue, I have to say, Nintendo killer is a bold statement. Nintendo still has a very strong fan base, so it's not actually going to be going anywhere. But the Switch, on the other hand, I'm not too sure about. The release of this new device really puts into perspective the fact that Nintendo is lacking in the development of their consoles and needs to make some adjustments before their consoles just become obsolete. In this video, I'm going to be comparing the Ally and the Switch, and you can decide which one is better. The ROG Ally runs on Windows 11. It isn't just any other gaming console, it has the ability to browse the web, watch videos, and download any software just like a regular computer would. The ROG has a very user-friendly app called Armory Crate. If you only want to play games on your device, you can basically only use this app, which will put all of your gaming platforms in one area where you can access all of your games. So you don't need to go searching for your games in the various platforms. It will just be right there for you. I think that this is a pretty good feature on the device, especially because it does run on Windows 11. For people who aren't necessarily tech savvy, it could be hard to navigate the Windows 11 interface. Me personally, I haven't even upgraded to Windows 11 yet from Windows 10. So when I was using it, there was a few things that I was kind of confused where they were, but I was able to find it out because I do have experience using Windows. But for people who don't, it may be a little bit harder for them to kind of navigate around this device. Though the Switch's interface is refreshingly simple. It allows you to easily and very quickly access your games, which is probably what you want from a handheld gaming console. Since it was really just made to play games on the go, the limited features of the actual device is really not that big of a deal. On startup, you have the ability to quick access any of your installed games or apps, and you can also go into the Nintendo eShop to download anything or settings if you need to change anything around. Features like parental controls will allow parents and guardians to customize the device to make sure that their child is staying safe. As for features like browsing the web, the Switch actually can't do that. The only thing you can access with Wi-Fi is downloading and playing games online with other people. There's not really much to it, but it makes this device a really safe use, especially for that younger demographic, and if you're really only just trying to play games on the go. On the ROG Ally, you have the ability to download any game just like on a PC. Using gaming platforms like Steam, Riot, Epic Games, and others will allow you to download any of the games that they offer and play it on the Ally at any time. You'll be able to play popular games like Valorant, League of Legends, Fortnite, Stardew Valley, and many more. And probably my favorite thing about purchasing the Ally is every device comes with a 3-month free trial of Xbox Game Pass, which will allow you to download and play any Xbox exclusive and also any game that's within their large library of games. As I mentioned before, Nintendo has a very large fan base, which makes sense because they've been making games for over 100 years. With the release of their most popular consoles in the late 1990s and early 2000s, a lot of people, like myself, grew up playing on Nintendo consoles and Nintendo games. And over the years, they've had many hits. Games like Mario, Zelda, Wii Sports, and Splatoon, to name a few, have become household names. And that's the real reason Nintendo really isn't going anywhere. This company is battle tested. Fortnite was a game that I saw as a commonality between the ROG Ally and the Switch, so I decided to kind of have a little test run playing Fortnite on the Nintendo Switch and the ROG Ally to kind of see what device could run it better and how much better. And to make sure that it was a fair fight, I had both of the devices plugged in while we were playing, and also they were connected to a monitor as well to kind of give the same sort of graphics display as well. Now, you can't change the graphics settings on the Switch. There's just a default graphics setting, but on the Ally, you can because it's just a mini PC. So I put the Ally on medium game settings, which is not bad looking, and the Switch obviously stayed at default. And the results were pretty shocking, honestly. The ROG Ally performed a lot better than the Switch, I'd have to say. The only metric that I actually measured was frames per second, and the Ally actually destroyed the Switch in this category. And I didn't cap the frame rate at all, so depending on how fast the movements were, the Ally actually increased or decreased in frames. Faster high-speed movements would drop the frame rate to around 60 to 75 frames, which was mainly just jumping out of the battle bus and also using shockwave grenades, which will kind of accelerate the speed that you're traveling at. And then just playing on the ground, shooting, stuff like that, you'd probably reach frame rates of around 80 to 100. And obviously these fluctuated a lot, but I would say a happy middle ground would be around 75 to 80 frames per second typically. I was actually recording the gameplay on the Ally at the same time while I played, and it was able to do all of that while recording at the same time, which I was pretty surprised by. Now the Switch, I didn't even bother to try to record that gameplay because I didn't think that it would be able to run very well, and it didn't surprise me at all. It was running at a capped frame rate of 25 frames per second, which honestly didn't look good at all. It was not very smooth. It was playable for sure, but if you're trying to go for that high performance gameplay, you're probably not going to be able to get that on the Switch. So the lesson learned here is if you plan on playing AAA games like Fortnite, probably don't play them on the Switch because they're not going to run that well. And the Ally actually did a much better job at playing this game. So you may be wondering, what's the verdict? Will the Ally be able to dethrone the Switch as the handheld king? Well, in my opinion, this next thing may be the reason why people don't buy the Ally over the Switch. Now, if you only wanted to use this device to stream videos, you'll probably get a battery life of about 6 hours, which is pretty good. But it's an ROG Ally and it's made to play games, right? On the website, Asus claims that the ROG Ally will provide you with about 2 hours of battery life. And I can tell you that you're not going to get 2 hours from this device. And this is depending on the game, of course, but what I noticed while I played on the Ally, I actually did a battery test for a day and tried to see how long I can actually use this device for. A lot of the games that I tried to play, like FIFA 23, just didn't work well when it was on the lowest power setting. So to give you a little bit of context, the ROG Ally actually has 3 different performance modes that will allow you to change whether you want to use more power or conserve more battery life. The first of the modes is the silent mode, which will use about 10 watts of power and the performance won't be that great. Then you have the turbo mode, which will use 25 watts of power with really good performance, but like terrible battery life. And then the performance mode gives you that happy medium with 15 watts of power consumption, but a decent amount of performance. There's also a custom setting where you can configure these settings for yourself to give you either more battery power or more performance, but I prefer not to play around with that and just stick with what Asus gave in its default settings. So my main problem with the battery life was this. I tried to play FIFA on silent mode. Silent mode just wouldn't run the game. It was so laggy and everything was just moving in slow motion. So I decided to turn it up to turbo mode, and turbo mode fixed it. It was actually running very well afterwards, like no problems. It was running super smooth. You would have thought you're playing it on a PC or a PS4 or something. But the one caveat to turning on turbo mode was the fact that the battery life dropped around 50% with only 20 to 30 minutes worth of gameplay. Now that's really, really bad. I did not expect this from it. The sad thing is I can't play games that I want to play on the silent mode. It has to be on turbo. And for that reason alone, I would probably say that the ROG Ally isn't that portable. If you want to take it on the go, you're gonna need your charger, or you can probably get a portable charger for the Ally and just kind of use it at the same time you're playing. Nintendo claims to have about a 4.5 to 9 hour battery life. Depending on the game you're playing though, obviously you're not gonna get up to that full 9 hours, but a more high demanding game like Zelda Tears of the Kingdom will get you around a 5.5 hour battery life on the OLED Switch. There have been 4 variations of the Switch that have been released, and one thing that Nintendo has actually improved is the battery life of these devices. The OLED screen actually helps to preserve the battery life a lot more than your typical LED screen. When playing games in a darker setting where there's a lot of blacks, the OLED screen is actually able to just turn those pixels off, which will allow it to save a lot of energy compared to an LED screen. In conclusion, a key demographic for people who want to buy the ROG Ally are probably people who are looking to get a starter PC. At a price point of $599 USD, it is actually a really good price point for a low-end gaming computer. And the fact that you can take it on the go is just an added benefit. That's just the price for the base model though. If you wanted a more powerful device, you can actually upgrade your CPU from the Ryzen Z1 to the Ryzen Z1 Extreme. And this is only gonna cost you about $100. So honestly, it might be worth it to get that additional performance. But if it's outside of your budget, then I understand just sticking with the base model. With extra accessories for the Ally, you'll basically just be able to use it like a regular PC. You can plug in a keyboard, plug in a mouse, and also connect it to a monitor using an HDMI output. If you want to turn your gaming up a notch, there's actually a device called the ROG XG Mobile eGPU. And this will allow you to be able to attach multiple monitors to your ROG Ally, and it will also allow you to play games up to 4K. The attachment is actually powered by an NVIDIA 4090 series GPU, which is a very powerful graphics card that will turn this device into a beast. The Nintendo Switch, on the other hand, as simple as it is a very good gaming device. Its focus on just being a hybrid portable gaming device is the reason why you're gonna get that amazing battery life while you can play your games. Even though these games are only gonna be in 720p, they're still gonna look really good with that 7-inch OLED screen. But if you do want to see it in 1080p, you can always plug it into a monitor or a TV, which will allow you to play your games in HD. So which one are you taking? The Ally or the Switch? Let me know in the comments, and I hope to see you in the next video.